DJ and PK reminding you to join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, Monday at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. That is coming up. Right now, it is time for us to talk NBA playoff basketball and NBA draft lottery. We're joined right now by Nathan Grubel from No Ceilings NBA, covering the NBA and the NBA draft. Nathan, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing, everyone? It's a fabulous day, best time of the year, NBA playoffs, the draft lotteries right around the corner on Mother's Day. A lot going on. I'm excited.
There are a lot of moms who are Jazz fans who want the Jazz to get the number one pick. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Jazz would take A.J. DeBonsa with the top pick. We'll find out if they throw us a curveball. Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that everybody would take A.J. DeBonsa with the number one pick? Or is there a club out there that would go in a different direction?
So I do think at this point I would be stunned if AJ did not go number one overall in the draft, with really any team picking in that spot, primarily because of just what he offers you in terms of a safety net, right? A 6'9" jumbo wing, can create off the dribble, can hit jump shots over anybody, has the ability to, along with being coached up, defend multiple positions. The passing really improved. He can play out of the mid-post, can post up mismatches. Really a lot of the things that we're seeing come to light in playoff basketball in terms of being able to attack someone off the dribble one-on-one, take advantage of mismatches, get the ball to where it needs to go in terms of kickouts if defenses rotate over double. AJ is capable of doing all of those things on offense with the ball in his hands, and it's why he's been projected to have this superstar ceiling that he does. So there's a lot of talented prospects at the top. I don't think the top four prospects have been fully solidified yet in terms of order and where we think they're going to go. But I do think at number one, I think A.J. DeBonsa is probably the safest pick anyone can make at the top.
Yeah, I like how you choose the word safest. I'm wondering what you think the gap is. Now, you go back a couple years, when Bama to number two, it was overwhelming. And I think that guys showed a little bit more than maybe we expected, particularly Knipple, but there was no doubt that Cooper Flagg was the guy. And so you wouldn't say, well, Cooper Flagg is the safest. You wouldn't say Wembanyama is the safest, but you chose that word, and I believe you used that word on purpose. So the point would be lead to a question, the gap between DeBonsa and the other guys.
I'm glad you called me out on that, because that's a great talking point to be able to discuss with some of these other players. I mean, listen, at the top of my personal draft board from the start of this cycle in the preseason to where we're at now, I have not moved Cameron Boozer off of that spot at number one on my board from Duke, the 6'9" forward. He's the most accomplished and decorated domestic prospect that we've seen in a long, long time. There isn't a player who has a resume comparable to his, including this year in college, pre-draft, since what Luka Doncic did overseas about 7-8 years ago. So this is a rarefied prospect who checks so many different boxes on the offensive end. You can utilize him in any blend of actions that you want to. He can be an on-ball facilitator. He can be a screener. He can be a roller, short roll playmaker. You can spot him up behind the three-point line, has a great catch and shoot 40%, three-point jump shot ready to go. He can be an interior post-up threat who draws a double team, and he has arguably the best passing instincts and passing placement versatility of any of these top prospects that we can discuss in this class. The difference between someone like an AJ versus someone like Cam, you do have some of those athletic concerns with Cam that show up on the defensive end. If he has to cover a lot of ground and really do a hard closeout on a shooter, he opens up those driving lanes where you can get by him. If you have to play Cam in a small ball five capacity rather than utilizing him as a bigger wing or a power forward, his more natural set of positions, he can get eaten up by some of those bigger fives and certainly some of what we would see in the NBA with 7-foot-plus guys. You can score over him in the post. So there are some defensive limitations to Cam's game, but it's not from a lack of understanding, a lack of mental processing, cerebral ability. His mind is his superpower, and then you layer in how skilled he is as a ball handler, ambidextrous, can finish with both hands, can pass with both hands. His footwork, he has such command over what he wants to do. And the best part about it is, like I said, because of his mind being a superpower, he can go 2 to 3 steps ahead of the defense and know what he wants to do before they even have time to react. So Cameron Boozer, for my money, has still been the number one player on my personal board. But again, in my position, I'm not working for an NBA team. I'm only able to play as much armchair GM as I can, understanding full and well that the safest option for GMs at the top would be to take the guy in A.J. DeBonsa, who has incredible upside in his own right.
The Jazz are tanking for a long time, so people have had a long time to study these draft boards. And the top three, you're right, the order has changed. You mentioned that and pointed that out. Even now it's not locked down. But the top three separated very early on, and that didn't change. Now, as the season went along, Caleb Wilson raised his stock. Darius Acuff Jr. raised his stock, and there are actually a lot of lead guard, point guard, ball handling guards who are in that next group and might just go 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm curious if you think Wilson can crack the top three, or does his three-point shooting limit him, or could Acuff crack the top three, or does the fact that he's 6'3" and seems to be a defensive liability going to limit him to being drafted 4, 5, 6?
I don't foresee a scenario in which Acuff would crack into that top three. I think his ceiling in terms of where he would be drafted likely falls around that 4 or 5 spot. Caleb Wilson is a different conversation. However, I would not rule out Caleb Wilson even being the second prospect off the board in this draft. We've already heard a lot of buzz, internally from different teams and scouts and sources about, Caleb Wilson being ranked as high as 2 or 3 on different boards within front offices. I buy that smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I buy it on this one. Caleb Wilson, incredibly talented, 6'9" forward, arguably the best athlete in this draft class. And a lot of his athleticism fueled those highlight reels and what casual fans might know about his game right now. But if you study more of his tape and what he was able to accomplish in North Carolina, you saw some skill emerging closer to what you would have seen in flashes at the high school level. You saw some of the footwork in the post and being able to create his own shot on a fadeaway, being able to get to his own mid-range shot off the dribble. The passing ability from a standstill really popped in a lot of high-low actions with Henry Vasar at North Carolina. His versatility, the fact that he's only scratching the surface of how good he can be, to where if he rounds out some of these other areas, you know what he can do as a defensive playmaker, was a beast on the glass on both ends of the floor. If he gets that three-point shot to come around, all of a sudden we're talking about a more complete prospect than people wanted to give him credit for in that 6'9" forward athletic package, playing a position in an archetype that we're seeing become more and more important in playoff basketball, having 4 guys around one big who can all dribble, pass, shoot, create. We're seeing that from Caleb Wilson. I think because of that, being wrapped into that athletic package, I think teams could talk themselves into Caleb Wilson being higher and going higher than he's currently at 4 on a lot of consensus boards.
Speaking of Boozer and DeBonsa, three-point shooting is paramount in this league. I'm not sure both of those guys, that's their strongest skill set, although you can improve to a degree. What do you think about their ability to step out behind the line?
I think Boozer 100% is a much more ready-made and confident shooter from three-point range than AJ is right now. I mean, Cameron Boozer, going back to his high school days in these last 2 years of high school and then through this year at Duke, he's been a 38 to 40% three-point shooter off the catch. Has even gotten more comfortable with taking some of those three-point shots off the dribble. I trust Cam Boozer as a floor spacer, as a pick-and-pop guy, as a catch-and-shoot guy. Right now, that's been a weakness for A.J. DeBonsa, but what A.J. DeBonsa has that Cameron Boozer doesn't have right now is when you take that 1 to 2 step inside the arc and you're looking at more of those pull-up 2-point contested jumpers, A.J. has that in his game right now. He can get those shots off whenever he wants. We didn't see a lot of mid-range versatility from Cameron Boozer at Duke. We saw more of it at the high school level. There's plenty of clips that you can find of Cameron Boozer getting into mid-range pull-ups when he was about 10 to 15 pounds lighter in high school. And I think that in order for Cam to maximize the rest of that skill set and really tie everything together from a star perspective, he's going to have to figure out how to get into those shots easier at the NBA level. Might require him, dropping a little bit of the weight that he put on in order to get a little bit more flexible, a little bit more comfortable getting into those pull-up shots. But I'd say that's a key advantage for AJ right now, even though I have Cam as the more trustworthy spot-up shooter from three-point range.
So we've talked about the top five, and basically where the Jazz landed, it's a coin flip. It is just slightly better odds they'll draft top five than draft 6, 7, 8. But there are a lot of Jazz fans who think they never catch a break. They're not going to catch a break now. The league's mad at them, and they're going to draft 6, 7, 8. It's doom and gloom for the Sunday draft lottery. It's bad mood for Mother's Day. If they draft 6, 7, 8, you've just listed 5 prospects. How confident are you those are the top 5? And who would the Jazz be looking at if they're drafting 6th or 7th? How did those guys sort themselves out? And do you have any idea which way the Jazz might be leaning in that group if that's where they end up?
I think if the Jazz are not able to land one of the top 4 prospects that we can discuss is Dibonsa, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson, that their next target should be Keaton Wagler out of Illinois. And the reason why I bring him up over someone like an Acuff or a Michael Brown or any one of these other point guards that we can talk about in this race, like a Kingston Flemings, I bring up Wagler, and I'll even throw Brayton Burries out of Arizona in the conversation as well. But Wagler in particular, from where he came from in terms of not being a consensus RSCI top 150 recruit to leading an Illinois team all the way to the Final Four, playing his best at the highest levels of competition and really not seeing any fall off in terms of his production in the regular season versus what he did in the postseason. We would expect a lot of these freshmen to play worse and overall have a worse resume in postseason play in the NCAA tournament rather than what they did in the regular season. You didn't see that fall off from Wagler. He's a 6'6" guard, so plus size at that position, can toggle between the 1 and the 2, is an awesome catch and shoot guy, has real range on his pull-up three-point shot. That's an NBA-ready move for him to be able to go to. Tremendous footwork when he's navigating ball screens, getting through traffic, can find guys on the move as a legitimate live dribble passer. He has such a well-refined game that can fit with another backcourt option. I think with the Utah Jazz, there's going to be other questions they have to ask and answer on around other parts of their roster based on the Jaren Jackson acquisition. What does that mean for that 3 spot? Is it Lauri Markkanen? Do they maybe move off of him to bring other assets back? Is that Ace's spot? Do they want to play Ace at shooting guard? There's a lot of other places where there's questions about on this roster. But one thing I thought the Jazz really figured out was Keontae George operating as the point guard. And in my opinion, he didn't even have his best weapon available to him this year in terms of efficiency, which is what I know him for, that pull-up three-point shot. He expanded and grew his game in so many other areas that are actually dependent upon him playing that point guard position, like attacking the basket, getting to the rim, having a free throw rate that's considerably higher than any other point in his career, continuing to grow since he came into the NBA as a passer. I think this team is best with him operating at that point guard position. And so you want someone next to him who is a little bit bigger, who ideally in time can cover multiple positions or cover the other backcourt spot that you wouldn't want Keontae covering. So I look for someone like a Keaton Wagler or a Brayton Burries if the Jazz fell out of that top 4, top 5 group.
We saw a kid last year, Yegor Dillman from Russia, come over and obviously played at BYU and now is with Brooklyn. And the idea is to get your so-called feet wet, to use that expression, in the college game and then go on to the NBA. With NIL, are you going to see that more often? Are we going to see foreign kids look to get a season under their belt in the college game, knowing that they can make some money, and then go on to the NBA? You think that's going to be a trend?
That's absolutely a trend. And I do think it's a great thing for, NBA-based scouts to be able to see these kids, in domestic leagues, in college here versus, overseas, where they're constantly having to travel and have to evaluate the leagues that these guys are playing in, whether it's a junior league or maybe they're not getting as much time. It's more limited time in a senior league overseas, trying to evaluate these different landscapes of they're playing this group of players. How do I evaluate them in this setting versus, NBA scouts have figured out pretty well how to evaluate players in the college setting. And so having them over here is a major benefit to NBA front offices and scouting departments. Well, it's also a benefit for those players because they're able to not only earn more money through an NIL deal than they're likely getting, in one of these overseas markets, but they're also getting the playing time like I was talking about, right? These more senior teams, these A-League teams over whether it's Spain or Turkey or whatever other league you want to point to overseas, they're not always giving these young players time on the court. You're seeing some of these prospects average like 10, 12, 14 minutes per game, not playing a lot, whereas in college, teams are building and making them a focal point in their systems, playing these players 25, 30, 35 minutes a night, sometimes even the more extreme 38 to 40 minutes a night. So they're getting more exposure, they're getting more money, and you're making it easier overall to level the playing field and make sure that the NBA scouts and talent evaluators have the best possible setting to evaluate these players in. So I think it's a win for all parties.
Nathan Grubel joining us, covers the NBA and the NBA draft for No Ceilings NBA. As the playoffs continue here, you looking at the Thunder thinking they are going to repeat, which it's been a little less than a decade since that's happened, or you got your eye on somebody else to take them down?
So my preseason NBA Finals pick was the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks matching up. And I see no reason right now to move off of that pick. When we talk about who's the favorite to actually win the championship, I would agree. I think OKC is the clear-cut dog above everyone else. And you see what they did to the Lakers last night. This is without Jalen Williams in the lineup. They're essentially playing two guards with SGA and AJ Mitchell, and they still have the versatility on defense to pressure the ball, to force players into bad shots, to make life really difficult, force turnovers, and capitalize on that transition play to get into some early offense, to set up easy buckets. And then when things do come down to crunch time in that half-court setting, you have who is the best half-court scorer right now in the game, and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to deliver at home. So I think the OKC Thunder are a clear-cut above everyone else, and I really appreciate the opportunity because of Jalen Williams being out. They're going to need him to come back. They're going to need him for these later rounds for the conference finals and for the finals. But as of right now against this Lakers team, AJ Mitchell's getting some great experience in that starting shooting guard spot, and you're seeing a lot of offensive opportunities open up because you have two primary ball handlers next to each other in SGA and Mitchell. I think he's getting a lot of great experience right now. You still have guys like, Casey Wallace and Caruso and McCain able to come off the bench. That two big lineup with a lot of this guard versatility, the on-ball pressure defensively, it's overwhelming, and it's just a lot for other teams to deal with. So I would expect OKC, as of right now, to still be the favorite and to hoist up that trophy when it's all said and done.
For the team who drafts Darren Peterson, how much work is going to have to be done off the court versus on the court?
So I'm not of the mindset that Darren Peterson has any off-court issues at all when it comes to his work ethic, his drive, his demeanor, his willingness, and that competitive spirit to improve and get better. I'm not concerned about any of that with Darren. Obviously, there's medical questions that have lingered and are still lingering that will have to be answered. I will not be privy to that information because I do not work for an NBA team. I may hear some things through the grapevine, but as of right now, my evaluation for Darren has to be what I've seen on the court and comparing that to where he was at in high school versus where he is at now. And who Darren is as a plus size 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard, awesome athleticism when he's healthy, the ability to get to his shot whenever he wants, ridiculous efficient shooter on incredibly high volume at Kansas, which matches what he was able to do at the high school level. My biggest concern for Darren stems on the court in terms of his on-ball playmaking ability. When he's involved in a lot of these ball screen actions in high school, he had that burst, that extra step because he was fully healthy. He didn't have any of these lingering issues to where he could always get by that defender at the top in that ball screen action. He'd take that wide angle and he'd be able to score, or he'd have a much easier passing lane to be able to look through to thread that needle to get the ball where it needed to go next. We were not able to see him create that same level of separation in Kansas this year in college. And so a lot of that diminished his playmaking value and his ability to pressure the rim severely. It turned him into primarily a jump shooter, which, again, he excelled at. He scored at high volume. He scored on ridiculous efficiency. That's not the problem. But in order to play a more ball-dominant role at the next level, it's not just about what you can get for yourself. It's about how you see and map the court, what you can get for everyone else. So because of that limit that I've seen from him right now in those ball screen actions, if that doesn't change, then you're comparing him more to a secondary wing versus a primary creator. And for that reason, it's why, I've been back and forth on where to have Darren on my personal board. Do I have him at 3? Do I maybe even have him at 4 and have Caleb Wilson ahead of him because of where I feel the position of value is with those other guys versus if this is who Darren is, can I find that somewhere else? Can I replicate that value somewhere else? So I think the on-court, on-ball playmaking aspect and the rim pressure, those are the biggest questions that need answers in order to properly identify Darren's upside moving forward.
Nathan, we appreciate all the NBA info. That's a deep dive into the draft there. We appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Enjoy the draft lottery, and let's see where these teams get to pick, because that'll help us sort out where everybody's going. I
appreciate you both for having me. Let's do this again soon.
All right, there is Nathan Grubel covering the NBA and the NBA draft and bringing us a lot of knowledge. You can check him out. He's at No Ceilings NBA. We're joined right now by Kent and Colson from Culligan and Colson. Why should homeowners be listening to this next 60 seconds of radio really intently? What's in it for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about water filtration, you're talking about water, you want to protect your home. Your home is your biggest investment, and everything water touches, your plumbing, your fixtures, your appliances, all of that is part of that investment that you've made. And if your water is slowly damaging those things, then you're losing the value of those things over time. So when you're looking at water filtration, you've got to consider using Culligan. We've been around for 90 years, guys.
90 years. I see that on the shirt. 90 years. That catches your eye.
That doesn't happen by chance. That happens because we have the best technologies, the best service, and the best products to fit all Utah homeowners. So when you're thinking about protecting your investment, you've got to think about Culligan.
Yeah, no question about it. And tell us, Kent, man, we got listeners. And what can they do to make sure that they're protecting their investment?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had lots of people calling in to take advantage of this Protect What You've Built offer. Call us, schedule a free in-home water test, and that's how you become eligible for this $1,500 off. That gives you $1,500 off softened water, clean, purified drinking water, and a whole home filter that filters out all of the chlorine out of your home. But you got to give us a call, 801-509-9602. and book that appointment so we can come test your water and let you know what's happening with the water entering your home.
Call today. Save $1,500. Protect what you've built. $1,500 savings. Call 801-509-9602. 801-509-9602. Call Culligan right now. Now, if they say, hey, Culligan, man, you're just going to bust their chops and how old they are, or you're just going to roll with it and save them $1,500.
Yeah, we'll allow it. We'll allow them to take advantage of that offer. They can also visit us online at CulliganSLC.com.
CulliganSLC.com. Thanks, Kent. Thanks, Colson.
Thanks.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
Joining us now, he is the owner of the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth. Ryan, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us.
My goal is to bring a championship to Utah, and we haven't had one. I want to hang a banner, and if it means that we have to do stuff a little harder, okay. But we're not going to tiptoe in to go beat San Antonio and OKC. We're not going to tiptoe in. We're going to have to do it the right way and build the right way. That's going to be what it's going to take, and you never know. But I just try to put the smartest people around, and I just feel like we're super lucky that we got this group. I'll just be honest, if they agree on things, I'm probably not going to stand in the way on anything that they come to, and that's typically how you want it. We've got really, really smart people here who also have that level of expectation, but all this is talk. We got to go do it.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.3 1035, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe at Minky Couture in Layton tomorrow from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Shop now for Mother's Day deals and get 50% off any regularly priced blanket with the code ZONE50. ZONE50. Save yourself 50% at Minky Couture. All right, PK, that was a lot of draft information there from Nathan Grubel. You come away, does he alter anything of what you think, or does it confirm what you were already thinking going in?
You know, the thing about is for the Jazz, and if they get a top 2 or 3 pick, okay. But suppose they get, as you said, 5, 6, 7. I like to latch onto a guy.
Yeah, Acuff.
Well, I like him, but he's not my number one lower guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the kid out of Illinois. Wagler.
Keaton Wagler?
It's not Wagner. It's like Wagner.
Wagler.
Yes. And the reason why I like him, I read a story about him in the beginning of the season. As a Wooden Ward vote guy, trying to find out who the best guys are. I think Underwood there at Illinois is a great basketball coach. And so I know he's got guys, and he's got guys that are a little bit under the radar. And this kid was totally under the radar. He comes from a basketball family. Mom and dad played basketball, and brother and sister played basketball. And the kid's from Kansas, right? And he wasn't really thought of as a big-time prospect. I don't believe that Kansas offered him. I mean, if I remember, Illinois might have been the best if you're going to name brand. Like some Mountain West schools, St. Louis, Southern Illinois, DePaul, those types of schools. And so he chooses Illinois, and it takes a bit. And then he just blows up. By the time he gets to December, man, he is just rocking the free world. And in January, against Purdue, 46 points. Purdue! Mike Folta's Purdue Boilermakers, right?
That was the same night that AJ went off against Utah. There were like 3 or 4 of those freshmen who all had like 40-point games.
And he does have the size. He's skinny as all get out. But,
yes.
He can.
That'll change.
Yeah. Mom and dad are really skinny, too. I went and checked it out. Stalked them a little bit on Facebook just to see what their builds were. And sure enough, their mom and dad are both lean, tall and lean. And mom, I like her even more. She celebrated on Facebook with a picture of the Royals charging the mound when they won the World Series. So they're baseball people, so they're high quality with tons of integrity if you're a baseball person. That's a fact. And I just think that if you're going for upside, this kid, the proverbial barely scratching the surface, I'm not talking top 3. I'm saying if the lottery hoses you again, which I don't think it will, but who knows? That's just a feeling. I said the same thing last year. And I ended up being right last year in a roundabout way because I said they're going to get one of the top 3. Well, they got one of the top 3.
He slid to 5.
Right. So that's all that matters. Doesn't matter where you draft.
We can thank his
disgraceful an
agent.
agent would do that. It's just disgrace. Yeah, until it benefits you. Worked out great.
Right. And so you're going to end up getting one of the better players in that draft probably. You wanted one. I get that. And so I'm thinking, okay, this year you just can't keep getting lower every year. But if it happens, I don't think it's a disappointment in the short term. I get that, and particularly with a somewhat of a local guy sitting there. But I think this Wagler kid, and just looking at pictures of the family, thinking that okay, he's not going to have a problem enjoying life in Utah. And with that in mind, I think that he's a kid that if it should come to that, and I'm gonna have to tell Austin this too. It's not just I'm not just telling the listeners. I'll advise Austin. Okay, here's what I think, and depending on where they are and who's available. I always like Calipari kids. Yeah, with the ACOV, he's a little shorter. Wagler is not short.
No.
He's skinny. He's skinny right now, but he just turned 19 in February. So I mean, come on. He has plenty of time. I think between my senior year in high school And my first year, by the time I got to the end of my first year in college, I gained 30 pounds. And it wasn't bad weight. I mean, I graduated at a whopping 100. I was Ben Anderson. I graduated at 140 pounds. And by the following spring, I was lifting. I got in a weightlifting class, and then my buddies at NAU, we got into weightlifting and would lift. They put a big weight room in the dome, and the dome had just barely opened, so we're down there working out with football players and whatnot. I gained 30 pounds, so I have no doubt, and we've seen it. We see Van Horn was 190, 6'9", 190 as a freshman, and he leaves at 240, and nobody said, "Boy, that guy's skinny," or "He's weak."
Same deal.
Right. Yeah. So I don't have any much concern about that, but I just love this kid's upside. The Arkansas kid, Akov, a little on the shorter side, but Calipari's got an eye, man. I'm watching Maxey the other day and doing his thing for Philadelphia. He was like the 21st pick, something along those lines when he came out, and SGA. As another, I mean, the list of Calipari guys, it's endless, right? You gotta go search online. You'd forget guys. Devin Booker, you ever hear of him? And Ed Booker was like the 13th pick. So I'm not bracing Jazz fans for disappointment because I'm not going to go there. But if it does happen, I think that there's still some other dudes there that can really help your team. And then I wonder, too, if they get the number one pick, there's just no doubt. But suppose it drops. If they get in that, as you said, 5 to 7 range?
5, 6, 7.
Yeah. For a team that hasn't won anything, I could argue that they're built to win now, which is crazy. But we know that their record was what it was because of the tanking, not because of a lack of talent, and particularly now with the trade and the development of George and Bailey, the wonderful backcourt, that they can make a move if they should want to trade that because of the fact that there's going to be kids available that are quality kids in that 5 to 7 range. They might be able to get somebody who we don't have to wait 2 to 3 years. It could be right now.
I think the thing that he just said in that last segment that mattered was that he was so off the radar. And you said it took some time, but by December,
yeah.
I think that everyone thought, well, it's going to be way longer than December. I mean, this might be a kid who blossoms as a sophomore. But he's in the Big Ten Conference season, and he's really good. And the fact there's no drop-off going to the NCAA tournament, scouts are always looking
And they went to the Final Four?
Yes, and they went to the Final Four, and they won. And he's not awesome at one thing, which is a little bit of a red flag because you want that, but he definitely got attention, and you'll love this, is like he's not a layup or three-point guy. All the scouting stuff says scores at all 3 levels.
Yeah.
Has a mid-range game. And you need to have options. You need to make the defense defend everything. To have a shot blocker at the rim and to have everybody else out guarding the three-point line, that's not exactly genius-level strategy in coaching. That's pretty basic. So you've got to at least have the threat of the mid-range game. And at 19, he's already got that. And to think that he could be 10, 15, or 20 pounds heavier, stronger, while still, being a bit of a beanpole like his parents. Okay, be thin, lean, whatever the word is. He won't be the biggest guy, but he's still going to get stronger than he is now.
Right. No doubt about that.
All of us went through that at that age. What you're talking about, your 30 pounds is a little bit, but a bunch of people, a bunch of guys adding 20 pounds between 18 and 21 or something of good weight.
Good weight. Yeah, good weight. Right, and I think that so he's my not exactly. You can't be a top 10 pick and be considered a sleeper.
Late pick.
But I happen to catch on to him reading his story going into the season, and because I like the Illinois coach, I'm going to keep an eye on this kid and watch him a little bit, knowing that, might be a Jazz uniform type guy. So we shall see how it plays out. Now, hopefully it doesn't come to that because they get the top 2 or 3, and everybody wants Bonsa as the local guy. I mean, I don't know that you're ever going to have that. Maybe, I don't know, Bruce Branch next year, but I don't think the Jazz will be in the position to be hoping lottery balls break their way in the way they are now. So I think those days are over. Everyone thinks those days are over. And so you got somebody who just sort of seems almost like it's destiny if you believe in that stuff. I don't believe in that stuff until it works, and then I believe in that stuff. So I really don't believe in it. If it happens, yeah, it's great in the moment. But I don't think you don't approach it that way, because that'll get you where you don't want to be. So we'll see how that plays out, obviously, on Sunday, and that's a huge day. I really believe it's a potential decade-long ramification day for everybody, not just the Jazz. But since we talk 90% Jazz, yeah, and you are going to have a lot of celebration if it breaks their way, from the fan base, from the management, from the media. I mean, at this stage of my life, I've got no desire to crack on these guys unless they deserve being cracked upon. I would much rather praise them. As I was exchanging communication with Austin the other day, he's like, dude, I need a playoff team, and I need it next year. We all want it, but I need it, man. I need it. I'm running out of time here. Let's go. It's got to be now.
What was the reaction to that? I need one.
We were joking back and forth.
I could see him. I know, but I could see him rolling your eyes. I wish you'd said that to him when I was sitting there, because I could just see him rolling his eyes and scoffing at you.
He told me, he said,
you don't have to tell us.
I'm working on that for you. I mean, joking. I got you, man. I'm going to do this for you. It's like that one time when I was in Wyoming.
That's good.
When I was in Wyoming and I had a flight, it was a day game, and I asked Moose Stubing, the referee, I said, hey, I got an 8 o'clock flight out of Denver. You gotta let things go, get this game covered. He said, what time's your flight? I said, yeah, it's 8 o'clock. No worries. I got you. And I'll swallow the whistle.
Moose referees the game.
Yeah, you can get your story done and be on the road. Get on I-25 and get out of here and catch that flight and be home tonight. And he knows what I was talking about, because he's been traveling the conference, and it gets old after a while. You don't need to spend another night, unless it's San Diego. You don't need to spend another night anywhere in the conference.
He was a minor league baseball coach. Back to
he was third base
people,
Angels
right?
coach.
A third base coach in Salt Lake. Yeah, he was here in the early '60s, and then he was a longtime referee. And I never knew him personally or had that kind of interaction with him, but you could just tell the way he refereed a game. He
was
had
a character,
personality.
Yeah,
he totally
did.
It's odd that both coaches would like a ref, but it always seemed like they did.
That's why I knew I could talk to him about it. And he knew my face at that point. We'd seen each other in hotels, and they'll stay at the same place.
Courtside enough.
Yeah, and they knew what I was about. Yeah. So, and he just looked at me and said, "I got you, big guy. You'll be on. You'll make that flight."
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us. We got a lot of former Jazz guys trying to progress in the playoffs. We got BYU and Utah State playing again, but not in Logan. We'll get to those stories next. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but are we experiencing the most uninteresting NBA playoff we've had for a while? Oklahoma City's great. San Antonio looks to be pretty good. Everybody else sucks. I don't think San Antonio's as good as Oklahoma City. I think it might be even a one-sided West, which seems crazy, but
whoever comes out of the East is going to get trounced by whoever comes out of the West. The only series I think anyone's truly waiting for now in the playoffs is Spurs Thunder, and that's going to come in the conference finals, and that's going to be viewed as essentially the finals, because whoever wins that's going to get the championship. So I think everybody's waiting for that.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't just show up to Supercross. Be part of the weekend. 511 is hosting a free event with custom Jeeps, a great crowd, and more. Friday from 2 to 6 with Jake and Ben at their Salt Lake store, 369 West, 1830 South. PK, you put a question up on Facebook, and it got a lot of response. We had 2 questions up last night, and they both did about 50 responses each. A lot of interest, considering it's a time of year where, we don't have a local team playing a game every night. And one of the things that generated so much interest was the fact that the Timberwolves, with 3 guys, Rudy Gobert playing a lot, and then Joe Ingles basically playing not at all. And then they got Mike Conley kind of in the in-between area there.
Kyle Anderson.
Started. And Kyle Anderson, you're right. 4 guys. So are you rooting for the Timberwolves in the NBA playoffs? They've kind of turned into Jazz North here. And largely the reaction is yes, although Brian goes against the grain. I'm pulling for the Pistons and the Lakers. See, Brian's just here to mix it up.
Well, the Pistons, I don't know that they have any animosity built in the way the Lakers do. And the Lakers don't have their guys, so you're going to be disappointed. That just seems like it's a guarantee, a lock, that they're going to lose. They don't have everybody there, and even if they have everybody there, we wouldn't be sure that they would win. And it looks like OKC is a tougher matchup than the Lakers have talent, right? And so with that in mind, that seems like a waste of time. I think Gobert is viewed so popular here, and he will continue to be forever and ever. He wanted to stay here. He kept saying, I want to win Defensive Player of the Year. I want to win a title here, blah, blah, blah. I believe he kept his house here. And so He was a guy who was comfortable in his own skin in this community and wasn't looking to take off. A foreign guy, and I've always thought that the foreign guys, they're so far away from home. What difference does it make? They just want to be in a situation where they're happy and making a lot of money and playing for a good team. I mean, if you got those things in line, what more do you want? So I do think that Gobert is something that was somebody who will remain popular. Plus, I think for me, the Spurs had their turn. And I want somebody else to have their turn.
Yeah. That's a very common thing in sports. I think you're marching right in line with most people. When teams start winning a lot, at first when somebody hasn't won for a while, it's great. Oh, they haven't won, it's great. And then when they win a lot, the jealousy builds. Now, maybe jealousy, you do something like the Patriots where you help it with, Spygate and Deflategate and all that stuff. But I don't think the Chiefs have anything like that, and there's definitely backlash because they've won 3 Super Bowls. I think we'll see it with the Thunder here if they win another 1 or 2. And I think you're totally on board. The Spurs won 5 times, and they hit in the number 1 pick on Robinson, the number 1 pick on Duncan, and then they get the number 1 pick with Wembanyama too. Let somebody else have a shot here. But they got a 1, 2, and 4 pick, and jet fuel to their rebuild.
Well, I have no jealousy towards the Spurs. I don't have any animosity toward the Spurs. I just want to see somebody else. Why not Minnesota? Why not the Minnesota? I mean, obviously the state is taking a beating here of recent times, so why not another team that is so far off the path that it really goes against that the league is slanted? I don't think the league is slanted. I think destinations are slanted. And so that's always going to be the case. As Majerus comes back for the Final Four, it seemed like the first thing he said, we didn't move any closer to California. We're still the same distance away from Southern California, whereas a recruiting hotbed. And, he was right, obviously, literally, and there was no argument there. But why not see somebody who may not ever do it again? It might be this is their chance. Who knows what's ahead? So, and the fact that Rudy was popular here, and Joe, in a sense, he doesn't play, right? But he's still on the team, and he stands up and he's trying to be the best teammate. You can see it with that towel around his neck that he always liked to have. So he stands out. He's white. That makes him even more identifiable. So, in a sense, even though he doesn't really contribute, not even close to the level he did when he was here in town. And I don't see it happening, but wouldn't it be sort of storybook if somehow they manage to win the title and then he rides off into the sunset of the 12-year NBA career that didn't start till 27? And Conley, the stuff you hear about Conley and having my conversations and talking to him, it's legitimate. The guy's real. It's not phony. This really who he is. And so that would be kind of cool in the twilight of his career too.
Right. He very much has the Jeff Hornacek vibe going, doesn't he?
And it's legit from the conversations. I haven't been with him in every step of the way, but talking to Joe and how Conley told me one time I was at an event And he said, and that Joe had actually been traded, but he had been hurt, so he was not in town. And Mike tells me, he says, yeah, we went late, man. Quinn went really late. And so I had to text Joe, could you pick up my kids? And Joe did. And it's just like a guy who has an indoor gym, because we saw it when he was doing that horse thing when we were in the COVID.
Horse.
Yeah. They did looking for some competition. So here's a guy who needs somebody to pick up his kids because he's running late at work. And so he calls his buddy Joe, and Joe says, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, because they went to the same school or preschool, whatever it was. I don't even remember now. We're going back several years. But Conley told me that story about how he relied on his friend Joe. Joe's, okay, yeah. That's sort of down home in a sense, and maybe only places like Salt Lake City could you have that.
DJ and PK, we're joined by Culligan this morning. It is Colson and it is Kent. And guys, people are probably aware of the Culligan brand, as you pointed out, been around for 90 years. So you've adapted with technology, because if you hadn't, you'd have gone the way of Kodak or somebody else who didn't adapt. And I'm curious, what's the problem now? How does technology fix it? How do you make people's lives better, save them money, make them healthier, whatever it is you do? Give them the elevator speech. How do you get it done?
Absolutely. So, and there's a brighter and brighter light being shown on the water filtration industry, right? People are now asking the question, what's in my water? Where I think 20, 30, 40 years ago, people just kind of assumed that whatever they were drinking was good enough. But now people are conscious about what they're putting in their bodies, what's coming into their home. So we remove a lot of those contaminants through different processes. One of the major contaminants that we see in Utah's market is water hardness. And water hardness enters your home through limestone degradation, right? So we've got these beautiful mountains, but that rock, that mineral, is able to be kind of absorbed by that water molecule. And when it comes into your home, it wreaks havoc on your appliances. It's what causes that nasty white crusty film on your shower heads and on your glass doors and on all your dishes. And so we remove that through some Culligan proprietary technology, and we do it better than anybody else in the marketplace.
That's about all you can ask for. But since you guys are really cool, you're going to give our listeners even more. Not just great water, you're going to give them something that's going to save them in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've been talking about this morning, give us a call, 801-509-9602, and book a free in-home water test and take advantage of this great offer we've got for your listeners. It's the Protect What You've Built offer, $1,500 off a total whole home system. That gives you water softening.
Where do they find you on the web?
At CulliganSLC.com. Yes. So give us a call or find us online and take advantage of this great offer. Like Colson was saying, this technology is new too. I'm here looking at my app right now. I can see how much salt I've got in my brine tank. I see that my system's running at 2.1 gallons a minute. So somebody at home is showering or we're doing some laundry or something. It's really nice. This thing's saved me. I can put it in bypass mode. I can get alerted if water's running through my system while I'm out of town. It's really cool technology, and Culligan's got it. So give us a call, 801-509-9602.
Call Culligan right now, 801-509-9602. 801-509-9602. Call them, say, hey, we got to protect what we built. We need that $1,500 off today. Call Culligan, 801-509-9602. Thanks, Kent. Thanks, Colson.
Thanks.